Hey everybody, welcome to Behind the Bar. I'm your host, Danny Johnson, where we interview your favorite dry bar comedians. Joining me today, the very funny Marc Yaffee, as you can see. His special Mid-Laugh Crisis, which I just watched, and it's hilarious. But not only that, I had the pleasure of meeting him at Loons on the Lake Comedy Festival in Minnesota recently. Bumped into him by chance, and thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Oh, it's good to be here. It's so random how comedy works like that. We're just running into someone. I've seen your name. I knew you did a drive bar, and then just like, oh hey, I'm Danny. Oh, that's hey. Just so that's festivals are like our little mixers.
It is. It is. It's sort of like you, and that. So the same with Dougie that we were talking to. Dougie
Uh-huh.
Almeida is somebody who I met once in my 20-year comedy career, and then at the festival, there he is. You know.
Well, Dougie saved me the other day. I was flying to Cherokee Casino to do a Comedy Zone gig, and there was storms in Dallas, and we had to go land in Midland and get gas. And long story short, I missed the connecting flight. I canceled.
Mm,
Said, well, you're in standby for the next. I wasn't going to get on standby. It
no.
was like 5 people, one seat. So, and there was elderly people, like a pregnant lady. So I was number 6 out of 5 people.
Right.
So I just saw they had a flight to Greenville, and I said, Dougie lives in Greenville, Sparta. And so I hit him up. He says, yeah, come stay at my house. And I switched to standby. I ran to Dallas Airport, which you've been there. That's like a half marathon to get from
Right.
one gate to another. And end up spending it's crashing out of his place and made my gig. I wouldn't have made it. I missed one day because of weather. I would have missed 2 shows because of weather. So
Wow.
it's yeah.
That's the game. But now you're on a ship. If the people watching this on video, you're in the Carnival Library.
I'm in the lovely Carnival Library, as you can see, very yeah, beautiful view of the terminal. So you can say this is the glamorous ship life right here.
The
So,
Seattle Harbor, is that what it
ooh, yeah. The other side's actually very nice. Yeah,
is?
I could have picked a better spot, but there's like 6,000 people where I would normally set up. They're all waiting to get in their rooms. So.
Right. You have any other comics on the ship with you this week?
Well, I was working with the very funny guy PJ Walsh, and last week worked with Matt Bergman, who's done a dry bar.
Hmm.
I believe he's out of DC area,
Okay.
and this next contract I'll be with Paul Lyons out of Philadelphia,
Very nice. Yeah.
and
A
that's
lot of
another guy, one of those guys I hadn't seen him in like 19 years. Worked together with him when I first started, and now we're both on ships. So
yeah, it's so great to bump into folks like that that you just kind of because eventually, and I've talked about this in the podcast before, eventually we start headlining the same venues, so you really don't see each other.
exactly.
The guys you come up with, you're kind of emceeing, featuring, and then all of a sudden when you start headlining, all you do is see their picture on a poster. They were there this week, the week previous week or the next week, and it's like you don't get to see them anymore.
Yeah. Oh, he's coming next week. Tell him I said hello. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so I noticed that your dry bar was similar to mine in that it was the longer version, right? Because now they do the shorter versions,
Correct.
20
Yeah.
some odd minutes. Ours was 40, 45. So it was really what was most fun to watch your special was because I got to see you live and I think you did a 10-minute spot or something like that at the festival. Um, it was to me, it was pretty rapid fire. That was probably an hour's worth of jokes in 40 minutes.
Yeah, I've learned to slow down a little bit on these ships. You got to stretch a little bit. Yeah, but
Right.
I do like that style, and then some of it I think is because I grew up like in comedy and these one-nighter triple runs in the
Yeah.
Northwest where you'd be in these bars, and I didn't want to give anyone too much oxygen to jump in and try to mess me up. And plus, the faster I did it, the less chance I was going to forget it before I get. So that was my
Yeah.
mentality back
Yeah.
then. But
And the audience was hot. You had a killer set. It was a really good special.
it was a good audience. I was very fortunate, and we know how this is. Comedies can be very touchy when you can have an amazing audience and you have a camera malfunction or the lighting and the cameras, everything's perfect, and some audience member starts chirping up or
Right.
something happens to throw the whole show off. So yeah, things it all kind of aligned nicely, and I've been super happy with the special.
Yeah, and it's all because you only have two shots. You're filming it in one night, two shows. So if you don't get it in those two shots, that's it. They got to do their best editing or whatever. You know what I mean?
Sure, sure. And there's been a couple people, not many, but as we know, there's been a few people their stuff didn't air. Either just the quality didn't work or they didn't work. And so that's stressful. And then I think I took my special, it was about, I think 8 months before it came out.
Hmm.
I didn't hear from them right away. I was like, oh, everything okay? And they're like, oh yeah, we're still editing it.
Right.
They were getting it right, and I appreciate the the intensity and the commitment to putting out the best
Oh yeah,
product.
and your clips are got a ton of views and continue to, especially up front. That first initial splash for all of us is the big hit, and then but yours continue to rack on these views, and I think it's unique. You talk about being Native American in your special. Um, you have uh a not a unique style, but I love the fact that you have so many great jokes in such a short span of time is so fascinating to me because I think I tell a little bit more stories with
Mhm.
punchlines, and you did actually a little bit of that too. But I was just I'm like, wow, this guy has an umpteen amount of great jokes, you know?
I think as I kind of grew up on that, like in the 70s, being a little older than you, and that was kind of the style then,
Yeah,
set up, from the setup joke and your punchline and I like that. And now it's like, you try to morph because audience now they want a little more long form, they want a little more interaction and as we see, I think a comedy reminds you kind of hip hop and just music in general. You went from you just certain styles back 20 years ago, 10, 20 years ago. Now everyone's kind of adopted a new style and it's still trying to, you want to kind of be connected to the trend of what audiences want to hear without giving up your voice and just trying to be another guy just replicating everyone else. That's that. It's hard to be an original when there's 73,819 people trying to do stand-up comedy on any given weekend. Yeah.
right, right. And you've had a long and historic career. Comics Unleashed, Showtime. You even you have multiple albums, but I think your latest one was Laffy Yaffee.
Yeah, I just did one with Punchline Records that I recorded that at Alameda Comedy Club in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area, and that came out end of January, I guess. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I believe that was the first time um, I hadn't I just that was the first time I just randomly got a record deal. That was the most bizarre thing. Because when the first one I did this Chuckalicious, it was Uproar Records. I won a comedy contest. That was a prize. This one I just ran into this guy at a club. He said, "Yeah, I was frustrated. I'd like to record a new album, and yeah, I just haven't had any luck getting with the label yet." And this guy's like, "I got a label." This guy Matthew Lane, really nice guy. He was at the Throckmorton Theater in Mill Valley, and he goes, "Yeah, I got a label. Send me some samples." And then yeah, it moved pretty quick and
Right,
still waiting to hear from Sirius XM. They don't move so quick, but
right, right.
yeah, it's this
Yeah. I like the cover art too. It's you're on looks like you're on the ship in Alaska.
that one I was in Antarctica, so it looks
Oh,
Alaska-esque. So I'm like, I've always tried to do something out of the box. So I just like said, oh well, it's freezing out here. Everyone's wearing parkas. I'll go out there on the deck and wear shorts, pretend I'm reading a book like, it's a 92-degree day. And I have a couple of my friends, I got these folks that I've seen on some other ships that have seen me do
right.
stand up, agreed to stand in the background. So yeah, that's something
Yeah.
different.
Well, you look like you're nude, but it's the cover art's covering the vital parts, right?
Yeah, my logo covers the vital parts. Yeah.
What would you say was more nerve-wracking? Because you've been doing it so long and had such you've already had TV experience. For me, the my dry bar taping was the most nerve-wracking ever. Was that pretty nerve-wracking for you as well, even though you have that experience under your belt?
Yes, because there's certain things that I wanted to do in that special that I hadn't really had time to do on other shows. Then you might be doing 30, then you're doing 60, and I was working cruise ships
Yep.
and it's massage, there's this massaging and getting the material right in the order you want it. You can't just go over it over. You can go over it in your head, stand in your hotel room or something, but it's not the same as a
Right.
live audience. So that in a bit was nerve-wracking. And I think then nerve-wracking was waiting to see how it came out,
Right. Right. Right.
it's always the recollection of comics. We tend to be very self-critical, like, I don't think I did that good. I don't, and then, oh no, that was actually, I felt pretty good about that when you saw the finished product. So,
Yeah. Yeah, the you talk, about obviously like I mentioned before about being Native American, and one of my favorite bits is when you start talking about the sports teams, the Redskins and the like. Now the Commanders, of course, but you talk
yeah.
about how they said they named these teams these names because they wanted to honor American Indians. And one of my favorite lines is, "Who said we wanted to be honored?"
One has to be honored, yeah.
And even if we did, do we want five mediocre teams to be our represent us? You know?
Right. Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, that's I was a little bummed when the Redskins changed the name. I was kind of happy in a way because I thought, it does offend a lot of people in the native community. But my thing, I used to have a Thanksgiving joke. I said, hey, my buddy was giving me grief. He's a Cowboys fan. He said, Cowboys beat the Redskins again on Thanksgiving. I'm like, not at the Indian casino, they didn't.
Right, right, right. Or
You
and
have to let that
the
go.
other great line was it if you want to honor us, how about a winning season once in a while?
Yeah.
That's fantastic. But none of the names bother you. I've never had the chance to ask a Native American if that's a
I, you
thing.
know, I think the Indians didn't bother me too much. I don't mind the Chiefs. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the tomahawk chop. You never see anyone doing the circumcision chop or the
Right, right.
pork chop or the chorizo chop. So it's a little
Right.
bit much to me. But yeah, it's good to see people are at least having a conversation and acknowledge that, hey, maybe this is not as it's our perspective isn't the same as someone who's been through a different historical
Yeah.
path. So
Yeah, it
I
is interesting when I look back at how I was brought up as far as education goes with Columbus, because you talk about Columbus in your act too, and how one-sided my history lesson was.
oh yeah, he's a
You
great
know,
visionary, and you got parades, and we name a lot of things after Columbus, right? You got Columbus, Ohio, Columbus Square. We don't name any navigation systems after Columbus, right? There's
right,
no Columbus GPS, and I don't think anyone would trust a Columbus
right,
GPS.
right,
Okay, yeah, keep putting in this Indian curry restaurant. This thing keeps sending me a Puerto Rican bodega.
right.
Recruitment process has been
Oh,
completed.
let's listen to the carnival announcement.
Yeah, we're doing the people are doing the mustering right now. I go to my muster station. I order 3 hot dogs. These people go. They learn how to get off the ship in an
Is
emergency.
Oh, that's the drill. They have to do that.
Well, now it's self muster. You used to all line up and you'd be all packed in, like they talk to you. Now it's you walk up and they scan your key card and tell you this is where you come. One lady the other day, what's her daughter? Was it her daughter or niece or something? Oh, so what's a muster station? She goes, that's where you go if the ship collapses. So
Collapse.
there you go. That's the quality of some of our cruisers right there.
Right.
Yeah.
Enjoy your vacation, honey. The ship may collapse at any moment.
Collapsible ship. That's it.
Have you ever been on the ship doing shows where the with rough seas where it's tough to stand?
We had rough seas. Yeah, one was almost lost my footing a couple times. Another one where there was a medical event. So what they do in that case is they shut down all the any auditory system, and then only the captain's announcements and the cruise director's announcements come out. So I had to stand there for like 3 minutes while they repeated the same. Well, we need a medical team, medical response team, deck 7, which obviously people need to be tended to. That's serious. But then they repeat it and it's just okay. That's this emergency is. It's like we know the emergency is over now. So you're trying to like clown the audience. I just started kind of narrating without the microphone because I couldn't use a microphone
Right.
and she tried to make the best of it. But by and large, we end up working as fill-in when it's rough seas. That's the thing. It's like, oh, the dancers are going to break an ankle, so we'll send a comedian out there. He's not dancing. He won't get hurt. Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you work that with your set? I mean, if you've already done or plan on doing a set, you only have three different sets, let's say,
Yeah.
and it's an
Well,
impromptu show.
yeah, sometimes you just kind of wing it and bring out some stuff. Sometimes you say, well, we're going to just do a repeat. Sometimes you do like a, kind of a showcase best of your stuff. So
Right,
it
right,
it really depends on where the incident falls in the cruise. Like, well, I haven't done all 3 shows yet. If I'm doing a 3 show contract, so I'll just do one of those. Sometimes I just kind of try to wing it, do a 4th show, and
right.
break out the old material from open mic.
Yeah, yeah. And then I mean that's pretty infrequent though, right? And the majority of the time it's fine.
These ships have stabilizers. They're pretty sturdy vessels.
Yeah. Do you have, I know it's been a long time since you filmed your special. Do you have a favorite part of it? Do you have a favorite chunk of jokes that you like to do?
I think when I talk about finding out I'm adopted and I grew up in, I tell people I grew up in a small fishing village called Los Angeles, and didn't find out I was native till I was 25. So all those years growing up playing Cowboys and Indians, I was suiting up for the wrong team. So
Right, right.
I get a cadence there. I like running through that. I
Yeah.
like
The what about the what is it? Your adoptive parents or was it Jewish?
Mexican mother, Jewish father, Navajo son, bargain hunter gatherer.
Right, Bargain Hunter Gatherer. That's a great name for an album, by the way. Bargain Hunter Gatherer.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Do you prefer the ships over the land, or does it matter to you?
It's very convenient. That's the problem. It's like, hey, when I'm on land, I know I have to get myself there. I got to probably rent a car, get to the club. I'm probably staying in a hotel, maybe a couple miles from the club, and
Right,
park, food. This one's like, okay, the club is literally 15 seconds up a flight of stairs from my cabin.
right.
Uh, Anytime I want to eat, there's literally a 2 minute walk from my cabin. So it's
Yeah,
very convenient, and you get treated really well on the ship. It's good production and good sound systems and nice audiences.
yeah.
But there's something about being out on the road, and one night you're in a nice theater with a ton of people. The next night you're doing a little
Some
combat
dive
comedy,
bar.
dive bar. Yeah. So I like the mix, a few less dive bars, fortunately, after 25 years of doing this,
Yeah,
but I'm not
yeah,
above
yeah. I'm
it.
not. I don't miss the. Occasionally, I'll still get them, but I don't miss the awful hotels that some one nighters would typically throw you in. It would just be it wouldn't even be. I mean, Super 8 is down there, Motel 6 is down there, but it would be the ones that were like, Tim's Motel or something like that.
Yeah, they had the Motel 6, and then they just peeled the letters off. You can still see the old one on. And now it's Notel 6 or something.
Right, right, right. I checked into a hotel in South Carolina once for a gig, and I go into my room. Somebody else's stuff was there in the room, like their bag and everything. I'm like, thank God nobody was in there. I go back down to the front desk and I go, "Hey, someone's in this room," and he goes, "Oh man, again?
Were they like squatters just showing up
What do you mean
there?
again? That's really not
Yeah.
raising my level of confidence in this hotel."
Wow. That's happened once or twice on the ship where the other person hadn't, they were supposed to have been out of there. And you open the door. Oh, yeah, yeah, check in. Oh, I thought I had a late checkout. It's like, no, you were
Is
supposed to
it
be out of here 3 hours ago.
is
Yeah.
that the other comic or is it just a
Once in a while, the other comic, one time was one of the media people, the media person, and she was getting all a surprise. Say, hey, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to barge in on you. No one told me you're in here. There's no reason I should have to knock. They said my room was ready. So yeah,
oh,
fortunately, they doesn't happen too often. And
yeah.
yeah.
You get to board the ship, I assume on the crew entrance, so it's a little quicker, right?
Yeah, normally the crew at getting on is pretty quick. Getting off, depending on the cruise line, like Carnival, you have to go through like a crew uh, mass immigration visit. So you're lined up with all the stewards and housekeepers and cooks, and so that can, This morning I got up at 5:15. I'd be down there at 5:30, and then it took me an hour. We had to just sit there. You wait, get your passport, walk over to the terminal, say hi to the customs guy. He takes your picture, ask what do you do on the ship, and then you walk right back on the ship. That's
You get a lot of
custom.
questions from the customs when you say I'm a comedian.
As suspicious as I look, I don't get a lot of questions. Once in a while, they, oh yeah, oh you're funny. Oh, well, thank gosh, God, no one says too often that you have to tell me a joke. Once in a while they'll do that.
That's the worst. I get that. I get that on land.
Well, that's now that you talk about the difference between ships and land. Here, you got a couple thousand people, and maybe several hundred of them quite intoxicated. So they want to have a joke off and talk to you and tell they've been waiting all week.
Oh yeah.
Can I tell you a joke? Well, if you insist, it's like, yeah, I mean, you're going to do it anyway, and I'll be polite and smile, and you just hope they're not stumbling through the whole premise and changing it, starting
Right.
over. Yeah,
Because do you get to do the excursions if you want to?
I do. I think we get a little bit of a discount, and I've gotten to go. Gee, I've been to a gold mine in Alaska. I've been trained in Skagway. My relatives went on a cruise with me, so went on the train that went up into the Yukon, where all
Oh
the
wow.
all the gold miners. Basically, it made a couple dozen people billionaires, and then hundreds of thousand people penniless, looking for
Yeah.
fighting over the gold scraps.
If you want to
So,
bring someone on the cruise with you, spouse, girlfriend, boy, whatever you want, they
yeah,
can. Is it
on
cost?
no, on Carnival, you wouldn't want to have them down because we're in the crew area. So
Okay.
I'm in I'm in a little crew, but it's my own room. I don't know if you share it. But on the other cruise line, Holland America, I do get some guest privileges, or if my fiance wanted to come or family, I could get a room. They'll let me stay there. I'll still be listed in my cabin, but they're accommodating on that. Yeah.
Oh, that's very cool. Because I haven't thought about that, doing ships in the future and what that would be like if I wanted to bring someone,
Yeah.
anything but Carnival, I guess, would be ideal to bring
In
somebody.
Carnival, you can get them in a passenger room at a highly discounted rate, but then you have to go through some things with security to get yourself approved to stay in the passenger area. But
Oh,
I'm just saying, whereas on like Holland America, I'm in a passenger cabin already. They just come in there after they've already filled out the paperwork.
yeah.
We don't have to book them separate, get reserve their room. They just jump
Right.
into my room.
Is it
So I think
Holland America different number of shows per week or per
yes.
contract?
So each cruise line's got its own system. Like I said here, depending on the class of ship on Carnival, you do between 5 and 10 shows a contract. Usually 5 or 6
Right.
is normal. Holland, you might do 2 or 3 shows per contract. Like a couple of nights where it's repeated. Once in a while, you'll do a third show. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, sometimes they're 40 minutes, sometimes they're 45.
So pretty much if you have like two full, I think I was talking to somebody else at the comedy festival we were at about it. I think that particular cruise line is like you have to have two different 45-minute sets or something like that.
That's pretty standard. And then on Carnival, you have to have one clean 30, squeaky clean. To get like today, I'll have the show. Well, today has an R-rated show. Tomorrow will be a PG show. There'll be, toddlers and 8-year-olds, 12-year-olds in there.
Oh, how
Had
do you
two
handle that?
had 2 girls sitting in the front last time. Their little Build-A-Bears sitting there and watch it. I just kind of clown them a little bit and just ask them some questions, talk to the parents, because a lot of times the kids will sit up front, the parents are in the back.
Oh
So
boy.
I start making fun of the parents. You can't sit with your kids, and our kids already embarrassed. What have you been doing? Just try to have fun with it.
That's got to be tough, man. I can't imagine.
Yeah, and I don't do too much, like kids jokes, or I don't play down to them. I pretty much just do a clean set, and hopefully the kids catch some of it. Yeah,
Right, because the majority is the adults in the room. So if you
sure.
get them, you get the laughs.
In the fun, you can throw a couple things over their head. Like I do a joke about, this isn't the clean show. I said, yeah, my ex-wife became a dog hoarder. She had unconditional love for the dog. She didn't care if they peed on the couch, barfed in the kitchen, humped a neighbor's leg. I'm like, I wasn't allowed one of those things. So if you read deep enough in it, people can say, well, that's a little bit too adult, but I always get away with it.
Yeah, it's almost like when you watch those Pixar animated movies. They're technically for kids, but they have a lot of adult humor in the.
Oh yeah, a lot of subtleties. Yeah,
Yeah,
but,
that's great, man.
yeah, it's a good deal, right? But the trouble is you got to discipline yourself not to eat too much. And there's a crew bar and there's discounted alcohol if people drink. I really don't drink. I might have a beer once in a while. So,
Right.
you get in bad habits. They don't let us gamble on Carnival, but I can
Right.
gamble on Holland.
Yeah, and
So,
there's a gym on every ship, I'm sure.
mhm. Yeah, I spend a lot of time in the gym, so that's a nice perk. You're in the gym and you're looking out at a glacier in Alaska while you're on the treadmill. Makes the workout a lot easier. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even think about that being whenever I think of gym, I think of such an enclosed area like a center of the ship or something, but sometimes it's at
Yeah,
the window.
all the gyms tend to be on almost all the cruise lines. I can't speak for all. I've only done 3, so almost all. The majority I've worked on, all the ones they're all the exercise facilities have been to the front of the ship, so you have all these panoramic views. So that's pretty
Wow.
nice.
That's fantastic. Yeah, that's some inspiration right there, running into the mountains in Alaska.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Running off this shrimp burrito I had for lunch.
Right, right.
It's cool right there.
Yeah, you have to do that. If you ever have something, yeah, if you do exercise, especially if you eat terribly the night before or even the day of, you feel kind of better when you go to the gym.
I do, and I tend to fool myself though. It's like, I'm working out the gym. I'm going to go twice today. I can eat a little more. Yeah,
Right.
it's not an even ratio, but
No, it does, especially as we get older.
oh yeah, it's just I tell people I used to have a 6-pack. Now it's a sad sack.
That's right. Very cool. Well, look, I won't keep you much longer. I do 5 questions at the end of each podcast. I would love
Okay.
to, we kind of touch based on a few of them, but before we do, your website is laughwithmarc.com.
Parents couldn't spell. I think I have MERK too, just to cover my bases. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mark, it's got a link to my socials and my a merch store if they want to get some merch. Also, I do have another dry bar coming out probably in the next couple months. They're editing it now. It's called Raising the Bar.
Raising the bar. I like it. I like it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I remember, and now that you said that, I remember you mentioned that. So you have two specials: midlife crisis and mid laugh crisis and raising the bar. All right, so five questions
All right.
for Mark. Boom. Number one, you talked a little bit about your comedy influence style from 70s and 80s. So, but what about comedians influences?
I love DL Hughley, George Lopez, Greg Giraldo, probably my favorite.
Oh my.
Dave Attell, big fan of Chris Rock too. Yeah.
Yeah. I got a chance to work with Greg Giraldo
Wow.
in Fort Lauderdale at Uncle Funny's, which is no longer, for 5 days, and it changed the way I write.
Wow, I bet, man. The guy, it was his master class. And not only he could move from regular comedy clubs to theaters to roasts to interviews, and the quickness and the quality just never subsided, even in the midst of his, personal struggles, which I
Yeah,
thought
and he even did clean late night TV sets too. Amazing. Um, what about this? So when I think back to my childhood and what got me interested in comedy, it was a combination of like funny relatives and like the first joke I told and heard people laugh, and that reaction was like, oh wow, people love laughter. Kind of got me hooked. My grandfather told me my first joke when I was 9. Can you think back to your childhood when you started to consciously think like, wow, being funny is an asset, and I like this feeling.
I think it was in fourth grade. I did we made paper mache characters in art class, Mrs.
Yeah.
Jones' fourth grade class, and I did Kareem Abdul-Jabbar comes to Archie Bunker's house. So black, politically active Muslim basketball player comes to this white bigot's house
Yeah.
from all the family. So I don't know what I even thought of then. I did something and I thought I got a few laughs. So I think after that it was always that seed was planted. But it took me, till I was 37 to actually start doing comedy on a regular basis.
Right, right. You tinkered around. Well, how old were you when you first hit stage? Your first ever stand up?
37, yeah.
Oh,
I'm a late bloomer, but yeah, no, I did taught traffic school classes for years, and I was in front of people, and people were like, oh, you're funny, you should do comedy, yeah, and I'm like, well, maybe I should, and I'd been thinking about it, and finally took the plunge.
wow, good for you. Um, Third question, if you can change anything about the current state of the comedy industry, what would it be?
Stop encouraging the audience to talk. Let it happen organically. I think everyone's just this is if you're making it about views and likes and trying to be provocative to get the audience, and it's really gone from art form to just a commercial exploitation in my book.
Right,
But and I'm not in it. That's not to say I mean, I respect like a guy like Ian Bagg and Matt Rife. These guys, they're good at it. But now you get guys that are just open micers or just starting, and they're coming out of the gate just learning. That's their first thing they're doing is just talking to audiences. They're not learning a joke structure, how to craft a set and stay within the boundaries, and or your opener, your feature, and middle how headline, or how you kind of fit into the puzzle of the show. When it becomes all about me and my social media, it may not be the best thing for the industry as a whole, but
right.
that's the fad right now.
Fair enough, fair enough. Favorite place to perform? Do you have a venue that you hold special to your heart?
Oh man, let's see. What my favorite was Harvey's in Portland, but that closed down a couple of years ago.
No.
Now I like the Funny Stop over there in Cuyahoga Falls in Ohio.
Okay.
So that's always fun. And then most carnival late night shows, like in the theater, those are great. They get
Yeah.
a little wild, and people are
Yeah.
pretty
Because the theater is the much larger capacity than the comedy club, right?
yeah. And nothing against club. I like, working small, intimate room, but something about that. You get like, 1,000 people and they're all ready to go and worked up. That can be a good buzz.
That's a huge Buzz, yeah. Last question. If you weren't a comedian, what do you think you'd be?
Probably an investigative journalist.
Oh, why do you say that?
I'm just curious. I ask too many questions, and I always liked interviewing people. And I did go to Cal State Northridge. I was going to get a master's in journalism, and got distracted and started writing some scripts and dabbling in some other stuff. So I ended up leaving the program. So
Investigative journalist.
yeah,
Do you got a
why not?
podcast yourself or no?
It's on hiatus since 2022. I was doing How Does That Happen? I was interviewing these crazy record holders. Like this lady had the record for eating the most wings, and I'd say like 500 something wings in 30 minutes. And Sammy Obeid, who was a Bay Area comic, originally he's in LA now. He had the record for most nights in a row doing stand up. It was like 1,000 3 days straight.
Wow.
This this guy trying to become the world's worst Uber driver, get himself the lowest scores with, and tell me his stories how he dumped passengers like a mile from their locations. Crazy. He's taking his kid in the car. So, but yeah, we're gonna come back. My friend June and I, she's a Carnival cruise ship comic. Our mothers both have dementia, so we've been talking about doing a dementia podcast, like a day
Very
in the life.
nice.
It's really, it's pretty harsh disease, but there's some funny moments that happen, and it's just to give people some relief on that and say, hey, you're going through the same things other people, and just some of the funny stuff they say and what happens and
Yeah.
how to do it. Yeah, so that's probably coming up next soon.
Yeah. I met Just June many 2 decades ago. And she used to be a frequent headliner at the Comedy Zone here in
I
Jacksonville when
believe
I
she
was
was just April back then.
and now she's matured into through
Yeah.
May.
So, you can edit that out. I won't be offended. Really. It's pretty bad.
Well, cool, man. No, I appreciate you taking the time. I know your busy travel schedule, being flexible. I know we were supposed to do this tomorrow, but switched it over to today. So you're
I'm glad it worked out, man. It's fun talking to you. You do a great interview, and always good to see a fellow dry bar having success, on
or
stage, off
yeah.
stage, or tribarian. It's like a librarian. I don't know.
Right, right. But yeah, I hope our paths cross in the future, and I'll be texting you just to harass you from now and again. And
Absolutely. Yeah.
you made the
Hopefully,
mistake of giving me your phone number, so
hit me up. You need some info, hit me up. Just
all
don't
right.
share it to telemarketers.
Well, just hang on here for a couple seconds, and we'll talk soon, man. Thanks, Mark.
Yeah.